everybody. It's Neil at the Dastardly Gentleman. And with me, I have Frank. Say hi, Frank.
What up?
And tonight, we are going to talk about the American Revolution. Not the old one, the new one that's coming up in 5, 10, 20, tomorrow, years, whoever. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? Could happen anytime. Look, you don't know.
End counting.
Like, I don't know about you, Frank, but I think this country needs a revolution.
This town needs an enema.
But,
Woo!
not to say I want one, but it needs one. You know? Because I don't want people dying on the streets. I mean, I know you do. But, I think that the only way for the system to fix itself is for us to have a revolution.
Is this the revolution? Is this what we're going with? This is the symbol of revolution.
Whoop-a-dee-doo!
So like everyone's gonna congregate in the street and they're gonna be like,
That's the signal, dude.
Fucking man, it's going round. Revolution. The spray painting finger wiggles on a wall. Like if people are like, I don't know what's happening. I mean, like, is this a revolution or I'm uncomfortable.
Oh man, why his hands get all green? Because the green.
Because it's a go. Because the revolution's a go. Neil's a prophet. Boom.
That's right, and it has nothing to do with this background I have here.
He's obviously in space. That's why he's a prophet. He can see the future.
But anyways, so
It just broke so much immersion right now. People are gonna have to like really kind of go get some counseling and cope with what just happened.
it's all right. I'm here for you,
I thought you
baby.
were a space entity.
I'm here for you. I will talk it out with you. But anyways, so the reason why we need a revolution, in my opinion, is because the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. People with money influence elections, so on, so forth. And it's not going to ever stop. Rich people are not going to be like, hey, we should write a law that's going to make us poorer to help the poor. Fuck that. I want a seventh boat. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, in a very crude way of speaking, I think that is the truth. And I don't think I'm very far from the actual truth. What do you think, Frank?
No, I mean, like, I think that it's going to be all fun and games for the upper 1% of the upper 1% whenever they think that they've got more money than Midas. And then next thing they know, they're being dragged out of their 7-story mansions by the general plebeian population and being beaten with sticks and set on fire. And the redistribution of wealth will be done with bloodied hands for sure. And I can't fucking wait. I mean, I will be the instigator. I will. I'll stand in the crowd and everyone's trying to like milling around. They're like, what should we do? What should we do? But like, he's killed poor children. Boom! Everyone explodes because at that point, like the powder keg is there. All you have to do is just make some shit up and just watch the world burn, and it'll be so good, so good. You'll see these guys in their $5,000 Armani suits getting dragged up to the gallows and get their goddamn heads cut off. And I'm just gonna sit there, just so much good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be good, but the end result will probably be good.
No, it won't. It'll be terrible.
No.
It'll be awful. No, it's going to be the worst. It'll be the worst kind of resolution that you could possibly have, because the upper power structure didn't get there on nothing. But the perception is that they've done nothing for everything. So it's like they have all this power and all this money that they've just sort of accumulated because reasons. And I get that, like, you know, you have generational money.
Sure.
But I mean, like, if it was really the case of like old French bourgeoisie, they get all this money for nothing. Even they couldn't hold on to it,
Right.
because even whenever the aristocracy, like back in France before they had their big time revolution, everybody was spending money like it was going out of style because they didn't know how to live any other way other than to spend shitloads of money.
Right.
So they were like up to their fucking ball sacks in debt. So then the same thing would happen if these people were stupid with their money. If it was like, my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather had all this money, and then, I didn't do anything with it except for spend it, and I lived this like extreme life, then I could understand that, because they
Okay.
would lose everything.
Sure.
But then in this case, these are smart people that have held a lot of money, and regardless of what anybody thinks about, like, because they are being taxed, they are putting a lot of money in, because they can't help but put a lot of money in because they have a lot of money, even if they're taxed at a lower percentage of everyone else. Like, if you're taxing someone who has 400 billion fucking dollars and you're only taxing them at 5%, I'm being taxed at 10%. That's still 10% of $90,000 versus 5% of 400 fucking billion dollars. I mean,
Right.
like, the dollar figure is still there, even if they're being taxed at a lower rate.
That's fair.
So then let's say we do have this revolution and we kill everybody. It'll fuck up the economy unbelievably.
Yeah.
And then you'll have all of the plebeian trash that came up and were more interested in burning books and learning how to read them, because it would further their agenda of wanting to have more money for nothing. Then they come in, they kill all the people who actually were generating jobs, generating income, even vicariously through very low tax brackets for themselves. Now they're like, yeah, we showed them. I have no more job. Like, the economy's in absolute disarray. The people who were formerly in power, it's all fucking gone. Everything's fucked up. What do you mean foreign relations? I don't fucking know. I mean, and then it's just going to be chaos. And then you're going to have like your little fractal fiefdoms of an overarching federal system that's just going to be like, we have no idea how to handle this. Because the money that was there before is gone now.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying you're completely wrong. I just think you're a little more cynical than you.
That's not even being cynical. That's being real. That's being fucking real. Because people are stupid.
No, I mean, as far as inheriting money and stuff and spending it wildly and not using your head, yeah, I can see how you could say that, and especially, but having a ton of money and then teaching your kids how to manage said money and so on and so forth as their kids grow up, you still get a massive head start in life. Like,
Well, yeah.
I mean, basically you're telling your kids, hey, you've got a ton of money. Don't fuck this up. Just don't spend a ton of it. Live slightly frugal. You don't have to be, you don't have to not keep up with the latest trends, but don't fucking buy a whole bunch of shit you don't need.
I think that, like, the best thing that could happen, as far as like an avenue that, see, I don't even want to talk about like not having a revolution because I want it so badly. I mean, like, I want the blood to flow like rivers.
Okay.
And it would be somebody who's pissed off enough to be congressionally elected, and then be like, I'm going to pass this fucking bill. I'm going to pass this fucking bill that gives everybody, you have to pay the same taxes as everybody else. And then the rich people are going to be like, but my tax bracket. No, and no tax breaks. You get tax breaks if you have kids. That's it. If you have family, you have direct dependent family, tax break. Everything else, no, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get to do like, I have like $50 billion in donations here and $50 billion in donations there. And I swear to God, look at the receipts. Here's a sack of green for you to show how legitimate these receipts are. Now put your name on the fucking line. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. So like you pay it at 15%. So you 15% of your income.
You know who tried to do that?
OBZ.
Herman Cain. He had a 5-5-5 tax rule. You remember that?
I don't.
It was 5% across the board of sales and then income and then whatever the third one is. But basically, across the board, everybody pays 5% out of those bits of income and outgoing. So no matter, how wealthy you were paying 5%, which it obviously scales with how much money you have. It's percentage.
Right. It's like we were talking about earlier. 5% to me is a lot different than 5% to someone who has $400 billion.
Right.
It's the same amount as far as like how it impacts our lives, but the actual fiscal figure is different.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a terrible idea, but yeah, that would be the guy that would start the revolution.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. I mean, and like, but the thing is, you got to be pissed off enough to have it happen.
Yeah.
You got to be pissed off enough to have it happen, and then bulldoze your way in, and then actually make it happen. Now, ideally, what we would like to see is to have somebody who's pissed enough to have it happen, garner a large movement, go into the Capitol building and execute every congressional member, all of them, down, every one of them, no exceptions. I mean, like you pile, you kill them all, you pile the heads up, and then you set them on fire, and you're done. And then you have to reelect, because even back in ancient times, the Senate needed to periodically be reminded that yes, you are in power. No, you are not powerful.
Right.
Because the power comes from the tumultuous masses and their perception of what you're doing and what they perceive as to be right and in their best interest. And if your best interest supersedes the best interests of the nation, it is entirely possible that they're going to kill the shit out of you.
Well, yeah.
And not in nice ways. They're going to drag you out of your perfect home and beat you to death with sticks.
Right. Well,
the plebeians are nasty when they're pissed. I'm just saying.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so the reason for any sort of government, and this is just my take on it, and I might be completely off base here, but is for simplicity's sake. Because you've got a mass of people, and you hire one guy to speak for that mass of people. And you say, hey, we all want you to represent us as fairly as possible. And then that goes up the chain to all the other locations in the geographic area. And then it goes up to the chain all the way up to, President, House, Senate, so on and so forth. So basically, it's just a pyramid of making decisions. Mm-hmm. So when that one person that is, representing your district does not appeal to your the majority of your desires there in that district, that's basically, that's grounds for removal, impeachment, or electing somebody new. So basically, what I'm trying to get at here is the only reason why government exists is for simplicity's sake, so that you don't have to have everybody talking over everybody. You hire one person to lead, but not necessarily lead, because you're not exactly in control. You're at the will of the masses. Am I incorrect in that assumption?
Yes and no. The reason why yes is because yes, it's for simplicity, because you want to have one person that has overarching decision making power on a lot of things, like especially like as far as civil decisions go. No, because the reason why you invest power in an individual is because that individual is ideally supposed to make impartial judgments based on the needs of the group. Okay. So that, but like at the same time, this individual is going to be educated in civil functions, civil engineering, and money making, taxes, and government, as opposed to like if you got a guy who is like, I laid bricks. And then you put him in power, and he's like, all the brick making stuff needs X. But then the say like the farmers are like, well, we need this kind of rotation, we need this kind of help in the fields. And he's like, no, you don't. That's stupid, because he has no idea. He knows his very specific function, whereas the elected official needs to have not only a broader understanding, but actually needs to know, like from the top down, where are these things taking place at.
Yeah.
And he needs to be able to make the decision impartially, which is a lot of times very difficult for people who have come from a very specific and refined background. Say again, in the example of the bricklayer, where he's like, people that work in the building industry, they need all of these bricks because I know how hard it is, but fuck everyone else.
Right.
Whereas like as someone who's studied civil government will go, well, everybody needs an equal portion of everything because everybody's important for everything. And then he can make the decisions, even the hard ones, where like everybody would be like on an individual level, I don't understand why the fuck you did that. That just seems like a terrible decision. Right. But then it's like, well, you think it's a terrible decision, but I just saved the homes of all of these people in this area, and we increased the food productivity, and then the civil structuring of our city became this much more efficient. And it's like, well, I didn't think of that. Well, no, because you didn't know. You didn't know what to think. You didn't know what you were responsible for thinking of. And that's why, yes, I agree with you. No, I don't, because it is for simplicity's sake, because that way you have a single focal point, whether it's a group of people like elders or an individual person like a president, senator, representative, that you can go to and be like, Timmy fell in the well. Okay, well, the immediate short-term side is get Timmy out of the well. Sure. The solving the rest of the problem is, why the fuck is the well open? Why
Right.
could Timmy get to the well? Why is the reservoir out in the middle of fucking God and everyone?
Right.
You know, these are the things that a civil person, I say civil person, a civil servant person would attempt to think about hypothetically.
Sure.
What we're at now in our nation is we got a whole lot of people that are like, how do I make more fucking money? You
Yeah.
know, like how do I fuck all these people and just I want to stick $100 bills to my body, and I want to fucking walk in to a strip club and be like, "Ah, bitches, I'm Swamp Thing, and I want to motorboat them titties." You know, and you're like, "Save the green," and you're not defending justice. You're just, you're just motorboating
Yeah.
skanks.
Which is
Which don't get me wrong, that's
pretty
super hot.
important.
But
I mean, yeah.
if I could, I would slather myself up with money and stay home, or go to a bank and deposit it. And I don't even care what the teller looks like. I feel like, help me get all this money off of me, please.
Okay.
That basket, I need to put my junk in it so that this doesn't get any weirder than it already is.
Wow. So now that we've solidified the purpose of government, what has gone wrong with it other than the fact that you just said, I want more money and I don't give a fuck about anybody else?
Lobbyists and an early Senate decision that early Senate. I think it was in the early to mid 80s. I can't remember what the bill's called. They decided to treat corporations like individual donors.
Oh, that was Citizens United, wasn't it?
I can't recall. Like I said, I don't remember when. I don't remember what it was or what it was, but it gave Congress decided to vote so that people that you should only be able to take donations from individuals.
Mhm.
And then now congressional members can take donations from businesses. So Chevron invests X amount of dollars in this senator, and I'm like, that didn't strike anybody that was going to be a terrible idea.
Right.
Like, there's a difference between like I'm donating for your campaign because I believe in what you say. Then you're already in office. I'm donating to you as an individual because, man, wouldn't it be nice if you could just go ahead and fuck Shell?
Right.
You know, like Shell's trying to open up these oil rigs. It would be pretty swell if something happened to them in their FERC deployment. It would be really nice if they got denied somehow. How many zeros is it going to fucking take? I mean, like, it's just that once like businesses were allowed to be involved in civil government and federal government, it became the death knell of progressive freedom. Because if you have an individual can represent themselves and represent their interests. So, like, even if it's like Rupert Murdoch wants to put $500 million into Donald Trump's election campaign. This is an example.
Right.
Shut up. Don't judge. Whatever.
Okay.
This is the first thing I thought of. I'm sorry, Fox and Friends. So he puts $500 million into Trump's election campaign. Well, he's only representing himself. He's not representing because he's not representing any interests. He can't represent any interests previously. He could only be like, I want to give you this money, and that's it. Now, if anything happened that directly influenced what he makes, that would be a violation of congressional law.
Sure.
Until this bill was passed. And now it's like Rupert Murdoch, as a representative of Fox News or whatever the fuck it is, like can give Donald Trump $500 million at any time, and suddenly CNN becomes a memory, and it's like, and everyone's like, well, CNN broke all these FCC codes. Sure.
Right.
And like, then it just becomes like a matter of like, dollars for representation. And I mean, lobbying is the worst thing in the world. Lobbying was the worst decision that we could have ever made. Lobbying should have been a thankless and moneyless position where a person believes in something long enough, like your grandma really wants to keep her fucking pension. And so she goes to the Capitol building and be like, I have no fucking money. I can't afford food. I'm begging at Capitol Hill. Please don't take my pension. Shit like that. That's lobbying.
Right.
Not like this guy, like, I have a briefcase full of unmarked hundreds that I am willing to pass to you so that you can, help my client out. Like, you should be immediately arrested.
Yep.
Done. Because that's bribing. That's like by any other term,
That's
the
bribery.
lobbying is bribing.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's one of those you can't walk up to a cop and be like, "Look, I know I raped that dude, but here's a sack of money
It says
that
otherwise.
says that I had meaningful consensual sex with him, and I don't know why he's dead.
Sure.
But here's a sack of money. Let's make that dream a reality." And the cop would, no, you're under arrest for fucking not only murder and shit, but also fucking that thing that you just did. So I mean, like if a cop would arrest you for it, a politician shouldn't get away.
Bingo.
You know?
Side note,
I mean,
I have a good story about something like that. So,
oh,
lobbying.
Yes, I want this now so bad.
Lobbying, there's a whole lot of lobbying in the IT community.
Oh, I'm like 50% like less interested now.
Well, you're a bitch. Anyways, so so oftentimes, as an IT guy, I will have a queue full of tickets, right? And you have several options when you're calling or contacting IT. You can put in a ticket, you can call them directly, you can send an email, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Obviously, the things that are going to pop up to me first are you standing right in front of me telling me I need shit done. Or you calling me, followed by sending me an email, and then followed by sending in a ticket. Okay? In that order, pretty much. Now, every now and then, we will get somebody that brings in cookies or snacks.
Fucking bribery!
And they'll specifically say shit like, I want to keep my IT guys happy. You'll remember me. My name is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So when I see that ticket in that queue, I'm going to handle that one first.
I mean, it was like that whenever I used to deliver pizzas. Like, you knew the addresses that tip like fucking mad. So then like you're like this, every time I go to this guy's door, he gives me $15. And it was like, okay, I see his address come up. I take his phone order. I go over. I make his pizzas myself.
Right.
I put him in the oven, literally ahead of everyone else. And then they run through. I get him. I take him personally, and I leave. He gets his pizzas in less than fucking 10 minutes. And then this dude's like, see, I know that if I tip really well, you guys kill it. And I'm like, man, every time that your shit comes up, I'm the one that takes it. I run the fucking store. And I can tell everybody to get the fuck out. I want it. I'm like, look, you either let me take it or you're fired. A little bit of money now or no money later. I mean, those are your options. I swing the cudgel of authority.
Okay, so we've pretty much defined the problem with government as it stands right now. We've defined the purpose of government. Now
it's become a democratically elected aristocracy.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, and now where we have Orange Hitler, it's looking like it's going to be even worse.
Oh god, yeah.
Because now it might become a literal aristocracy.
Might be.
King Trump the First. How does that make you feel? Princess Ivanka, first of her name.
I gotta go to anywhere else.
Lord Regent Kushner.
Stop it. Anyways, so when the shit comes crashing down, how do you think it's gonna start? Like, you don't need to name names specifically. Like, what do you think is gonna spark the revolution? I mean, it's been a long time coming, obviously. But who's gonna, fire the first round, or what's gonna happen?
I think that it's gonna be because if you slowly degrade freedom over time, it's like the frog in a hot pot thing, where like you put the frog in the hot water, boom, gone. It jumps out because it's fucking hot. It's terrible. But if you put him in and it's cold and then you warm it up slowly, the frog will sit there and boil to death.
Sure.
It's the same principle with the loss of your freedoms, where you have freedom and you have that, like, even 30 years ago, you had absolute freedom. And then, well, some shit happened. And, some other shit happened. And, not some other shit happened. But, now the world's getting scary.
Yeah.
I mean, like, maybe North Korea has nukes. Well, I mean, like, it just seems like people are really negative on the government, and maybe we need to keep an eye on them. And then, well, why don't we just tell you that what you need to do? So like it's the slow degradation of freedom that's terrifying. But in the case of like of recently, because of the disconnect between Washington and the regular people, I feel that someone, and again, not naming names because I mean I don't know, but I feel that someone at some point is going to take a jump in the degradation of freedom.
Motherfucker.
the, the rather than the slow degradation of freedom, it's going to be like we went from we're losing some freedom to martial law, and it's going to be that jump that's going to set the spark because people are already pissed, people are already angry, they're already ready to be in the street. But then like if you take their freedom really fast like that, and then you show your true colors and you show your hand really quickly, which I think that at this point is something that they would do. That'll be what sets it off. That'll be the blood in the street. But I think that a lot of people that feel like there's going to be a major revolution are really undercutting American values in a strong way, where they always say, the police and the army are going to come in, they're going to kick down your door and they're going to take all your shit and they're going to shoot your family. Point them out.
Yeah.
Name me somebody in our armed forces that is willing to turn their guns on the people that they have sworn duty to protect, and not only protect the Constitution, but protect the sanctity of the United States and the freedom of the individual, and that they would just willingly turn around because some politician fucking told them and shoot their neighbors in their community.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
So I mean, like, I feel like if it did come to that, and the orders came in, martial law, you need to shoot anybody who disagrees with you. I feel like a substantial amount of the armed forces would be like, what? No. And then it's even more fucking terrifying because this is America, and goddamn if everyone doesn't have a gun.
Right.
So I mean, it's like then you pissed off the army, you pissed off local law enforcement, and now you have an armed population, which is exactly what the Second Amendment is fucking meant for, that's ready to rise up against tyranny and retake the nation and put it back the way it was supposed to be.
Right.
Which in this case will be the full life cycle of our democratic union. So, I mean, like, I think that it would really be like the spark, because I mean, like, whenever you say that, the spark, it reminds me of the V for Vendetta where they shoot that kid.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be like, I think it'll be a huge jump of the reduction of freedom.
Okay.
Like this will be state, like, I think the first part will be, this is the state sponsored media, because every other country that has that, Russia has state sponsored media, China has state sponsored media, America doesn't. America has free media.
Right.
It's up to you to make the decision of whether or not it's true or whether or not it's accurate. But like all of a sudden you have state sponsored media, now you don't need anything else because there's only one thing that you should believe, and that's the state.
Right.
That's going to be such a huge jump in the loss of freedom, because now you've destroyed the First Amendment.
Yes.
And so like as soon as you start like legitimately removing sections of the Constitution, that'll be enough.
That was a very good answer, Frank. I liked it. And Kyle, you are welcome to join at any time.
But you're a motherfucker, so you won't. Sorry, calling you Motherfucker Jones.
What was meh?
Was man, suck my dick.
That was a
How
good
about
answer.
Fucking, I got 2 inches of.
Okay.
I guess somebody see me whenever I come to town.
Now you've done it. All right.
No, I can go back home.
So we've gone through the purpose of government, how government is going to cause the revolution. Let's talk about the nitty-gritty. Okay, so when revolution happens, as you stated before, and I agree with you 100%, there's not going to be armies or the army fighting against the public. I think, people are going to have their own separate views, based on geography mostly, as to how the country needs to be run after the government is deemed unfit. So that being said, how is the pie going to be sliced? What do you think?
It depends on it depends on the leadership, and it depends on the manner in which the day is won. Because if the point of the revolution is the restoration of the Constitution as it stands, it will go back to being a federal system. So then you have your armies, you march on Washington, you depose whoever's in charge, and then you remove the dissenting factors, the upper 1%, if that's the case. I mean, you never know. I mean, like the upper 1% could fucking love freedom.
Sure.
Because I mean, like, because pure freedom is pure capitalism, which means more money. I mean, like, the more freedom you have, the more ability you have to make money. I mean, like, even they would be able to recognize, some things have gone wrong, and if the population is rising against, that's not making money.
Right.
So, if it's entirely possible that the upper 1% won't be part of the problem, but might end up being part of the solution. However, I think that there's some caveats that need to be in there about, like, the upper 1% can't be involved in government. I mean, like, rich people are notoriously bad at running a government because they want to continue to be rich people, and they tend to try to run it like a business, which isn't always good. But I think that if we have civil servants, cops, and army and regular citizens attempting to restore the Constitution, I think that it'll literally go back to the way it was like 20, 30 years ago.
Okay.
Where it'll be like the Constitution, this is what it is. We have a governing body of justices that's going to determine what's right and what's wrong. We'll have an acting president, an acting Congress, and then we'll have clean elections in order to determine who is who and who gets what. Not so much who gets what, but who gets voted into being part of the election. So it'll be like all the people that had virtually NASCAR rap sheets of people who have been bought and paid for will probably end up in a ditch. And then the people that replace them will be, your friends, your neighbors, your local elected officials, because even your local elected officials know enough about government to know that they don't know everything about government. That's
Sure.
why there's 700 fucking congressional representatives.
Right.
I mean, because between all of you, someone's going to know what the fuck to do. And then you have your president, which would be an acting president, which would probably be like a high-ranking military official until a civilian official is determined, or general elections determine that general is worthy of being the supreme commander in chief. So then I really think that, like, if we did have a revolution, it would be a counter revolution of pure American ideals, pure freedoms, and the restoration of the Constitution as we actually understand it, versus the interpretation of people who are attempting to use it to gain personally, because that's not what it was for. That's why this is so difficult for them, because that's not the Constitution. The Constitution was the benchmark of freedom, and that's not what they're trying to use it in the opposite direction. And that's why they're having such a fucking hard time, and everyone notices when they try to change shit. Because they're like, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear that the concept, that's not, no, I mean, they didn't mince words. I mean, it'd be like, you talking about trying to remove, trying to tell me what I should and shouldn't watch, or should and shouldn't listen to. Something about you, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good general specification of how it should go down, but let's get a little bit more specific. Kyle says, though, your friends and neighbors at that point will be pressured by huge corporations and under the gun by lobbyists, not the rich people at that point. I'm not too sure about that.
Here's the thing. We're not talking about a bloodless revolution. We're talking about a very messy and deathly revolution. I mean, like, we're taking the high road and assuming that the cops and army aren't going to be involved in it, but there's still going to be like hundreds of thousands of dead, and that includes a lot of the people in Washington, the lobbyists for sure. The reason why I say that is because everyone knows what a lobbyist is. Everyone knows what they represent, which is the corruption in government. If you live in Washington, D.C., you probably fucking know one, and you probably hate their guts because you know what they represent. So then in the case of this counter-revolution of against corruption, where we have reached the point of frustration and hostility, where we're willing to take lives in the preservation of the Constitution, lobbyists, will be murdered en masse. Corporate representatives that are in Congress or in Capitol Hill will be murdered en masse. So then you would have to be a pretty fucking stupid corporation to attempt to put someone back in to that situation and be like, try to convince them with money. How good did that go last time?
Yeah, and how
And
good is
these are the people that just got done fighting a fucking revolution to kill tons of people to restore things the way that they felt like they should be. And then you're going to approach them and be like, here's a stack of money, we want this to happen. I'm sorry, what company were you with? They kill you and then they go to that company and level it.
not only that, but how good is money at that point in general? I mean, I would think it'd be damn near worthless.
The stock market will crash. But then once everything dust settles and then everything comes back together, America is still America, and the federal dollar is still representative of the money that we hold.
Right.
So I mean, like, as long as we don't tear the entire country down, we keep the federal system going. The federal dollar is still representative by the gold that we hold in our reserves. So then ultimately, the stock market will suffer a shock, but it won't collapse. Well, it'll collapse, but it won't die. So then we'll still have money that's representative of actual money. Versus like if you have a complete revolution where everything breaks down and everything gets separated, the only thing of actual currency that will have any value is pure gold, which almost nobody has.
Right.
Because everyone's in debt to fucking literally everyone.
Yeah.
So the only time that would work is if you have something that's in your nation, in your fiefdom, because at that point it'll almost become like a medieval feudal system where every governor is the lord or the king, really. That you'll own that section of the land, but what you own, it has to be has to be represented by some object that gives the paper money that you have value, which nobody's going to have, because nobody's going to have anything that other than gold. There's not going to be anything that's there. So if you don't
Knock,
have any
knock.
gold,
Open
no,
up
he's
the
back.
door. Is anybody there?
Oh, look, it's Kyle, everybody.
He's
How's
crashing.
everybody doing?
Pretty good, Kyle. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's break this down for a minute. I'm going to ask a quick question. Let's just walk with me.
Okay.
Walk with me.
Walk with me and tell me your name. Here we go. We take the rich people out of power, and we base our currency off of gold again, not the federal note.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All of a sudden, the rich people aren't considered to be rich anymore because they don't have gold. Realistically speaking, they have our current currency, but not gold. In fact, like Frank pointed out, not too many people have gold right now. That being said, you just made people that were not rich before you just took the rich out of power rich, people that have gold. So these are the rich people now, and the rich people aren't rich people anymore. But those are the people that you just took out of power. So now you got a clusterfuck. Okay, you got people that were rich that aren't rich anymore. They have what our currency was, but it's not going to do them any good because we just switched what currency is based off of, the value. That being said, you're going to throw your economy into a spiral, a crazy spiral, because you have people that have so much now, mansions, cars, yachts, the works, that have, according to, gold now, nothing. That means nothing. You have all this stuff, but you have no money now. You just fucked over that 1%. Now, I'm not sticking up for the 1%. Please don't get me the wrong way. But there's so many ripple effects of what you guys were just speaking about. To take gold and make that the currency again, it's going to pretty much rip that 1% a new one.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Eh,
if you think about it, I mean, that's part of the revolution. Is it's also a redistribution of wealth, and it really depends. I mean, if we decide as a country to fall back on gold, otherwise, the only reason why we use gold now is because it's a rare earth metal, and it's not easy to find. we could honestly use anything else as currency if we wanted to. But as far as, value goes, once, the government has toppled, in my opinion, your only value at that point is a combination of influence and the survival of the fittest until the government is reestablished and we find out what our new currency is. Because I can strongly imagine that once the revolution is, I'm sure there's not going to be an official announcement, hello, revolution time. But once it actually happens, there's going to be mass rioting and looting like crazy. It's going to be semi-apocalyptic. There's going to be a lot of people that don't actually follow what's going on in the government that will just assume this is, a free payday for me to go grab all that shit that I wanted down the street. And all that's going to matter at that point is the shit you have and how well you can protect it. But that's just my point of view.
I was going to say, you think those rich folk right now, you think they get pissed off when you change the rules just a little bit here and a little bit there because they're not getting as much money as they could be getting? Try telling those rich folk, hey, guess what? You're not rich anymore.
Your money's worthless.
See what they're gonna do then. I guarantee you're gonna have riots.
What do you think, Frank?
I don't know how the rich people would riot.
There's not
enough rich people. If they're the upper 1% and the upper 1%, that's who we're screwing over. That'd be like what, 500 people?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, that's like a small auditorium uprising. And the thing about a revolution, if you're going to have one, a revolution has to be conducted under a rule of law. It can't be bedlam. If you have bedlam, you're no longer attempting to institute any kind of government.
It's anarchy.
Once you let people get into that threshold of anarchy, there is no going back. There is a national point of no return. Whenever you have cities burning, and it is the citizenry doing it, and they're not doing it to uprise, they're not doing it to prove a point, they're not doing it to preserve their freedom, they're doing it because they want shit, and you let them do it. It's no longer about government. It's about an angsty teenage nation that doesn't know what the fuck it wants. And so, I mean, it's like Rome in its last years, where the upper 1% of the upper 1% in Rome were so infatuated with their own legacy that they neglected everything. But in the process of neglecting everything, they lost everything. I mean, everything. The whole empire fell to ruin, not only from rioting from the plebeians, but also by they also opened the floodgates to let the barbarian hordes come in and destroy everything. So then if we let our nation fall into bedlam in the process of this revolution, and we forget our place as a nation and as a people in the rule of law, then we open the floodgates to anyone that wants to come in and take a huge fucking swath out of the country. And we wouldn't be able to stop them because there'd be too much anarchy. I mean, you'd have the army looking at itself being like, is this guy going to be part of the revolution? Is he not going to be part of the revolution? And then so they're hung up, they're pensive. And then you've got, let's just say, I mean, for shits and giggles, North Korea comes in and invades fucking Washington, all Red Dawn style. So then you lost Washington. Well, now they're going to take California. And then they're going to take Nevada because I don't know why, because no one wants Nevada. But there needs to be law. Now, as far as taking the gold, I agree for the most part that if you remove gold, if you make gold, so what are you saying? What are you saying? Remove gold as being the standard? Is that what you said?
That's a possibility. I mean, if we decided to change the standard.
So the thing is that throughout the history of humanity being in social groups, gold has almost always been the standard of commerce. Mm-hmm. Whenever you get out of a barter system. So it's unlikely that it'll ever stop being that way, unless like you have absolute broke ass anarchy, like the Walking Dead. Sure. I mean, now you need stuff over gold, because you can't eat gold, you can't eat. To Gerard Butler take care of North Korea and America has fallen. I don't know, did he? Because I only watched the first one and it was fucking garbage. But so then if you have gold, you almost always need to have not. I lost my train of thought now. Unless you start going back to a barter system, there always has to be something. We talked about that with the bottle caps from Fallout. And if you tell the rich that their gold no longer has value, for the most part, like I said, very few people have gold. And the people that do have it, if you take the gold and you make it no longer the standard, then their money is worthless, but then you have nothing.
See, and that's what I didn't agree with what you said. You ended up saying that it affects the top 1% of the 1%, which is an auditorium full of people. But realistically, on a realistic level, it's affecting a lot more than 500 people. It's
I don't
affecting all the
remember.
rich people and pretty much everybody that doesn't have a gold stash right now.
I don't remember saying that we were going to remove gold as being
that
a
was me.
standard. Oh, was it? Okay. I was like, I don't know where that
I
came
said
from.
it was
Like,
a possibility, but yeah, it really depends on how severe the revolution is. To be honest, I mean, like you said it right there. If we do fall into total anarchy, then that is very well a problem. I mean, it could go into the Walking Dead style apocalypse. So we would have to go back to bartering at that point. But but if
I mean, you have to have a government. You have to have money you have to have something to represent the cash that you have. And like I think taking gold away would be the worst possible idea you could have, because then like as stupid as it sounds, having a dollar, having a federally recognized currency for a nation is imperative to that nation's identity, where we are established enough to have money. We're established enough to have that we have a gold reserve, and then we have something to represent it. If we had everybody that was just using gold, I mean, it would just be chaos, because now there's too many people. So like not everybody's going to be like, you would have an gold piece probably for your whole life. And there would be you'd have to go by ounces, and it would be chaos. Right. So like I think that taking gold and a federal dollar away would be inviting absolute chaos.
Right. I agree with that, because you straight up are taking away what we started out with. So if you're taking gold out of the equation, you better have something really good to back that up, and immediately to back that up. Because if you don't have something else and it turns into a bargaining system, or where you trade system, shit's going to hit the fan in a very big way. Really fast.
Yeah, that bartering only works on a very small scale. That's why in large scale communities you have currency. I mean, even if it's something like what's a Native American tribe? I think they traded in like fine beads or glass or something like that. Right. They still had it. I mean, because the community got to the point where it was large enough that you have specialization. Once you have specialization in a community, you need to have some kind of currency. I mean, you can't barter anymore, because it's like, well, Jacob says that he's going to give me 2 goats for that blanket. Well, he could charge you whatever the fuck he wants to for that blanket, because he's the only one that can make it. Right. But Jacob doesn't know how to fucking rear goats. So it's like there has to be somewhere in the middle, because to him that blanket is worth 2 goats. To you, that blanket's not worth dick, because you got goats. You can shave those motherfuckers, and you can have a fine ass blanket. Yeah. I mean, it's just. Because then it becomes arguing over semantics, where like especially if you have, like in this case we were talking about like a fractal nation, where you have individual fiefdoms are having to try to decide what value is. Right. So then like you have Arizona Kingdom versus the Nevada Kingdom, and like Arizona Kingdom says like 2 liters of water is worth X amount of grain, but in Nevada that has highland areas where they're able to grow food goes, fuck no, it's not. It's supply and demand. And then they're going to argue forever. And then they're going to go to fucking war. And they're going to kill the shit out of each other over trying to figure out who the fuck's bigger dick, and over what the value of water is.
Yeah. And that's how it would be then compared to now, in a system that's proven to work. When I drive from Arizona to Nevada, I say, oh, wow, cigarettes are really expensive up here. I'll wait until I get to Arizona.
Yep, pretty much.
And then that's what I do. I just wait till I get back to Arizona.
That's funny. Okay.
Or you could sit there and barter for 3 hours and figure out what's worth what.
And here's what's going to happen for the most part. I mean, because this isn't going to be a bloodless revolution. People will kill each other. They're going to kill each other, and they're going to kill each other by hundreds of thousands. So then you've already established that you are a nation bent on righteous indignation and violence. So then you're bartering with someone. I need X amount of cigarettes. I'm willing to give you 2 bottles of water, and then they say, well, I think that these cigarettes are worth at least 3. Well, I disagree with you. Well, you can go fuck yourself. No, you can go fuck yourself. And then you kill him and you take fucking everything he has. Because you've already proven that you're angry enough that whenever someone slights you, you're willing to kill for it.
Sure.
So then now you have an entire nation full of revolutionaries. You have an entire nation full of Che Guevaras. You know? Give you my body for that hat. If we weren't related and it wasn't fucking weird.
So okay.
that'd be a fun text. Hey, I just fucked your brother for a kitty cat hat.
How do you feel about that?
How do you feel about that?
I mean, we can't take it back, but
You've never been so far out of line.
You smell that? That's your brother.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I'm leaving.
It's all fun and games until the butt stuff comes up.
All right, so okay, there's varying degrees of said revolution, and I think we hit pretty much all of them on the head. It's really just gonna depend on, I don't know, like the way you're saying it, it's gonna depend on faith. A lot of it's gonna depend on faith in our Constitution, faith in each other, and faith in the fact that I really hope this motherfucker doesn't kill me for what I have, and is willing to wait it out until our government reestablishes, so that we don't have total anarchy. Because, once that becomes the standard where, hey, you've got what I want, and you're not willing to give it up for, a reasonable price, in my opinion, I'm just going to kill you and take it anyways. That's the beginning of the end.
That's the beginning of survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it's the beginning of Mad Max.
And
because it's just, that's all it's going to be. It's going to break down the system. But in every revolution that's been successful, which would be basically France and America for the most part. I mean, I guess Iran and Korea had one, even though Korea wasn't super successful. There was always, you had your revolutionaries, and they were pushing an agenda, and they were pushing it all the way to the top so they could have complete reformation in their country. The citizenry, that even if behind it or not behind it, were still being part of. If we had a revolution, the gov would lose within days. They would lose almost instantaneously. The government would lose within 7 days. I mean, DC itself would just tear itself apart. But even during a revolution, you still have the rule of law, where you have police officers that are still doing their jobs, sheriff officers that are still doing their jobs. It's not like everybody would surge in one direction, because you would only have a certain amount of people that are willing to put their lives on the line for that.
True.
And a lot of them are going to be people that already, A, have nothing to lose, B, have already been put in that situation before, like service members that believe strongly enough in the restoration of the Constitution. But a lot of police officers would be staying behind it, would still keep rule of law. They'd have to. Because, like I said, as soon as you lose rule of law, what are you fighting for? Nothing. You're fighting for a nation of bandits. And who the fuck cares? You might as well let everybody tear each other apart.
Right.
Because if you can't keep common decency, especially America, being the shining example of freedom and justice and righteousness in the world, still, no matter what anyone fucking says, that if you can't maintain that small bit of American identity, what the fuck are you even fighting for?
It's a very good point, Frank. I do have one last question, because we'll start wrapping it up here. Because I think we pretty much covered all the bases. This went a whole lot differently than I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to talk about territories and shit, but
we can. I mean, I could do that all day. I could literally talk about this all day.
Well, that's the thing, is that the way you've put it, and it's very well put, it wouldn't come to that. I mean, we might, if anything, we might regress to just states and our own, statewide law and constitutions and whatnot. But I mean, we wouldn't be completely fractured. We'd still hold an ideal on that.
It would be like Confederacy.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me a little bit of solace, knowing that it wouldn't just go to straight anarchy. Because that was my first thought, was, riots on the streets and everybody's looting and pillaging, basically. So, but now that you put it that way, it makes a lot more sense. But here's my question. in the event of a revolution, how likely do you think we are to be attacked from outside?
That would be a terrible idea.
Yeah?
So, like, there's a Charlie Daniels song where it talks about the South rising again.
Mm.
And regardless of the context, that was just to let you know what song it was.
Sure.
The idea was that we fight amongst ourselves, sure, but don't any of you foreign folk try to fight with us. So it's like even if we're in the middle of a revolution, and let's just say again, because everyone's demonizing them because it's easy and they're basically the axis of evil, North Korea decides to invade. You watch that revolution turn right the fuck around and kill literally every North Korean on this nation because we're already fucking mad. We're already mad as shit. So I mean, like now it's like now we're just like we have a single focused entity to annihilate, and now you watch the revolution destroy North Korea completely. And I don't mean just like here what they landed with. I mean like you talk about battle groups in the Pacific being like, you know what? Why don't we just take care of this right now? Japan, South Korea, China, you with me? We'll divide it up. You guys fucking go nuts. You figure out what kind of territories you want. We just want to fuck them up. And you just watch Japan, South Korea, and China just storm the beaches and just brutalize everybody. And North Korea ceases to be a nation and a problem all at the same time because they decided that during America's time of crisis that they're going to try to pick a fight with the wrong fucking bear.
Good call. I mean, that makes sense. The fastest way to unite us as a country is to attack us.
Yeah, and then we'll go back to killing each other.
Yeah, we'll kill you first, and then we'll kill each other.
Yeah.
All right, so this has been very uplifting. Do you have any closing thoughts, Frank?
I mean, I think that if worst case scenario that if we did end up revolution ending and we did lose a federal system, it would go to a Confederate system, which was fine because it was almost like the same thing as a federal system anyway, except for that each individual state had its own individual governing body. But there was overarching Confederate money, and there was a general defense pact. So, like, you know, when the Confederacy was formed, let's say England attacked, because in its time of trials and tribulations, the South was trying to figure out where it was going to go, and England decided to invade and try to retake Virginia. Well, every state in the Confederacy was mandated by the Confederate law to turn and fight at the defense of the Confederacy. So even still, let's say, like, you know, Arizona or all the entire nation gets divided, and even though everybody hates California, you know, North Korea invades California. Well, begrudgingly, Nevada, Arizona, and Washington send National Guard to go help defend California.
Sure.
Because it's part of the Confederate doctrine, which would be like that's as chaotic as I could honestly see a post-revolution government being a Confederate system. Now, like, if you want to get really fucking nutty, when every governor decides that they're a king and that they have their own individual fiefdoms, and Arizona can't survive on its own, so it's going to annex part of South California. And whenever it annexes part of South California, well, that's going to really make the fucking North mad, but they can't really calm down because they hold not only the high ground, they also hold all the vegetation and a lot of the water reserves in California.
Yeah.
But Arizona has managed to push its way to the ocean, and now it can do trade with Australia and other individual nations and get a lot of its supplies. It'd be fucking amazingly fun. Also terrible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How about you, Kyle?
There's a gun. There is a gun behind every blade of grass.
Oh, that's a good quote. I love that quote.
There will be no attack as far as them storming the beaches and coming here. There will be none of that. However, that doesn't make me naive to the fact that some other countries are technologically advanced to have shit that they could put in our water, different types of biological attacks. So I feel that this nation would tear itself apart before we were attacked by anybody else. That being said, I hope the day doesn't come. I really feel that we are one war away from figuring this thing out with another country. Figuring our own shit out. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't care who that country is. We're going to kick their ass. We're going to come back, unite, and be fine. It's my ending sentence there. That's what I'll go out on.
That's good. I liked it. Very good. I really don't have a whole lot. I mean, personally, like I said, I think this country needs a revolution. I don't want it. I think that there's been so much corruption and so many actions of tipping the scale in the favor of the rich and in the favor of corporations and whatnot. I think that they have way too much influence over how our country is run. And I'm not unrealistic to the point where I think that if you're a huge ass corporation, you don't at least have some sort of influence on your country. But how it's governed, yeah, not so much. That's not okay. I don't know of any other possible solutions to stop that from happening once it's already gotten to this point, because of the fact that you're not going to get the rich people voting themselves out. They're going to vote themselves in every single time, and if it costs thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives in the process, so be it, as long as they get paid. It's really depressing, but it is what it is today, and unless there is some other miracle that happens that stops it from happening going forward, I see no other future. So, there you have it, folks.
Well put.
Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you like what you saw, like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, like, follow us. All of the above. We'd appreciate you for it. We'd like some feedback. It would be very, very beneficial to us to know that, you guys are actually listening. Go ahead and, shoot us a tweet on Twitter. We're at DastardlyMen. We are also on Facebook, so go ahead and like us there as well. And we will see you guys eventually soon. So, until next time, we'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Dun, 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 dun.